we got to get to the shout out. Do we have the illustrious DJ Danarchy track?
And we're back.
Welcome, Alex Jones fans.
Danarchy. I don't want to get greedy, but if Danarchy could give us a shout out beat, that would be ill. Top of the line professionalism. Let's get to the shout out. Shout out. Creepy. Shout out. Weird. I think
that's creepy.
It's incredible. Shout out. This is crazy. Shout out. This is out of control. Shout out. That's creepy. Shout out. That's weird. Creepy. Weird. Crazy. Shout out. This is crazy. Shout out. This is out of control. This is weird. Shout out.
Alex Jones peddles nonsense, conspiracy theories, and bullshit, and is a great broadcaster. And he does it on behalf of his own businesses, but also, whether intentionally or not, on behalf of the oligarchs that run the global economy. And I'm sure they would object to what we're recognizing today, which is brave, incredibly. This is actually very, this will be a real mood shift because this is really intense. It's really disgusting what's happening, and it's incredibly brave and exemplary what these workers and these women are doing. The Fight for 15 has a new nationwide strike going on against McDonald's. McDonald's, one of the most predatory companies in the country and one of the most predatory industries in the world. And these new walkouts focus specifically on sexual harassment at these companies, at McDonald's branches. These women at a protest, I don't know where they are. I believe, I don't know what city they're located in Chicago. They're going to talk about why they're out marching, why they're walking out, and their experiences. I want to keep in mind that all of these experiences are, chilling, disturbing, disgusting, an absolute indictment of McDonald's. For those of you who are listening, one of the women speaking is 15 years old. They're all incredibly young. And we want to recognize the bravery of these women and the vital work of the Fight for 15 going up against this company.
Thank y'all. I appreciate all the love.
And I work at McDonald's. I am here to tell you that this company has a sexual harassment problem.
I'm a 15-year-old McDonald's worker. I started working at my store in St. Louis, Missouri in 2017. Almost immediately, one of my male co-workers began to sexually harass me at work. I told him I wasn't interested, but his behavior only got worse.
Because last year I repeatedly experienced sexual harassment while working at McDonald's. It first began when one of the male co-workers and I struck up a platonic friendship. But as soon as he began verbally harassing me and even grabbing my breasts in private areas at work.
I have experienced harassment at McDonald's not just once but twice. Last fall, a manager repeatedly made sexual comments towards me. He talked about my body, including telling me he told me I had a nice body and a big butt, and telling me to leave my boyfriend. Because he was a manager, I felt trapped. I felt like I had no choice but to tolerate it.
His comments about my body and the things that he would do to me made me deeply uncomfortable.
I refused his advances and tried to avoid him, but he would not stop. When I reported the problem, the supervisors didn't care.
I reported his behavior to the general manager, but nothing was done.
When I told my manager, he didn't take me seriously. He just said, "You will never win this battle."
McDonald's, a multi-billion-dollar company, does not seem to care.
They don't care. None of these companies care. And they don't care about every form of abuse, whether it's the wages, the exploitation and the abuse of every category. Obviously, in this case, an extension of revelations and movement out of Me Too, the specific abuses of sexual harassment in this industry. They don't care. And this is a battle you're never going to win, is in fact the explicit policy of the entire Republican judiciary and party of this country, and every corporate enabler of all of these companies. Robert Gibbs, Barack Obama's former press secretary, is an executive or comms person at McDonald's today. And McDonald's, in spite of course, an incredibly well-established track record of environmental, health, and labor abuses, needs to position itself as a sort of conscious, multicultural, grassroots brand. And we see every day that the people who allow this company to exist, who in addition to every other category of abuse, women, including some as young as 15 years old, are harassed, dehumanized, and bothered with complete impunity. And the type of courts that someone like Justice Kavanaugh, who I'm sure shares very little in common with a middle manager working at McDonald's, except for probably certain traits, if you know what I'm talking about, will do everything, along with every other Republican member of the judiciary, to make it harder for any recourse from the people who already have by far the hardest time in the economy and in society. It's disgusting. Those people are amazing walking out. The courage of the laborers taking that action, the clarity of those words are exemplary for all of us. And we stand in solidarity to the utmost. I don't know. I mean, Matt, actually, I don't know if you wanted to touch on, you said you saw some of this.
Yeah, actually, I'm just remembering certain dynamics between managers and women that worked at McDonald's. I mean, women, I say. We were all in high school, basically. The grill and the front line staff. And,
right.
And the sort of types of jokes that people would make is completely inappropriate.
Yeah. And there was definitely, management, but there was also age disparities too.
Yeah, like a 33-year-old manager and
16-year-old
high school girls that they hire.
Yeah. What's so fucked up is none of these things are ever surprising. I didn't think, it's when I saw, I'll switch gears for a second. We'll obviously talk about this more later with Alona, but it's not that when I first saw Brett Kavanaugh that I thought that there would be a credible sexual assault allegation against him. But when it came out, I was surprised that I didn't think that when I first saw him. And more structurally, of course this is taking place at McDonald's. I'm sure it's taking place across the entirety of the American labor force, and particularly in sectors like fast food, which are some of the most exploited, oppressed, and generally disrespected workers, period.
That's why this is such an incredible and brave movement, too. Because, the fact is that we have to stand up for one another, and we have to stand up, as a community. And that's why, hopefully this is able to, send a strong enough message. But, this is why a lot of those folks are the victims of this kind of predatory actions, because they are seen as powerless. So they are seen as the person was talking about in the video is saying, they said that, you're not going to win this fight.
Right.
And, and it's really despicable and an unfortunate aspect of the world we live in. And hopefully we'll be able to change it.
And that's what institutions and people are saying to them all the time. Yes. And it is that totally terrifying. And I feel uncomfortable to even say this, frankly, because of just the absolute massive differential in the relative, privilege that I occupy now and everybody in this room occupies now, relative to the workers striking. But the terrifying promise of real socialist politics, in my view, it's on one hand, it's terrifying to say the deck is stacked against you. The structural, all of those feelings, economic, racial, gender, that it's against you are true. That is how things are designed. And it is a battle that if we play by the current rules, you probably will lose. Conversely, when you go out and do what they're doing today, you actually take power, and that's ultimately the promise. It's not a paternalistic, liberal, protect certain people thing. Look, on a relative scale, obviously it's better than pure conservative exploitation and abuse. But ultimately, it's actually to say we want everybody to have power over their fate and capacity to make their decisions about the most important aspects across the board in their lives. That's why we're the real freedom advocates, not this fucking Scientology of politics libertarian bullshit. And what they're doing right now, that's freedom, that's liberty in any proper understanding of those terms. And it's unbelievable courage. There's no greater courage than that.
I think you're 100% right, and it's like when you watch that video, and we're getting this secondhand. You know, we're not in there that space, but I feel like energy and power.
Yes.
I mean, it's like that's a powerful moment.
That is power,
and that's something that you can really carry with you from all these kind of movements. Even if certain movements aren't successful in achieving their direct goals, empowering people and showing us that like we do have power, we can make such a difference. That's something that's important on its face.
Absolutely, it's
It's beautiful
when they
too.
it's beautiful, and when anytime you see people taking that risk, and I think that is why. I mean, strikes, walkouts, those actions of any kind are underlining. I mean, first of all, they expose the fundamental power dynamic. They give us the place where we have the most strong intervention points, and certainly working people in any type of institutional situation, whether it's a school or a fast food company. And it's like that mass undertaking of like, we are going to take power and action. Even on some of the other steps are right. It's right. Talk to a lawyer, talk to an employment attorney. All these things are really important and really good. But there's something about this, that collective, like, we are going to take it. That, as I say, that's what's scary about left politics, I think, because there's a huge risk innate in that. And then it's also what is ultimately the promise of it that really says, look, people, everybody gets to have real power over their lives. And that is the point. And that's why we're the ones that actually believe in people.
And it also, and these things bring so much more change because, for example, I'm sure everyone in this room and many of our listeners know about how low-wage workers are sexually abused, know how especially women of color are abused in low-wage work, right? We understand this, but when you see these kind of movements, there's so much more like motivation structurally across the entire society to address these rather than just sort of being individually aware of certain oppressions. Like these are these kind of catalyst moments that really drive entire communities to rise up with other people to change their conditions.
Individually aware is a precursor to group action for power, and that's why it's so important. But yeah, it's never an endpoint in and of itself.